other side to kind of like guide this as I go. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Am I at a corner?
Yeah, you're pretty close to a corner.
Where's the corner? Okay, wait. I
Sorry.
want to talk about something. I want to talk about two things. We didn't talk about our Tampa trip that much. We just talked about. It was just a short little clip, and you also went to the new Caesars poker room.
Oh, okay. So we can add this back into the intro.
Yeah.
So let's back to the intro. Here we go.
Here, like.
So it is the holidays, and
Yeah.
we did have some time off work. We visited Tampa. We saw the beautiful poker room there. We got some sessions in there, and I did go to the new Virginia poker room.
And we played in Tampa
Caesars.
many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good for us overall. Not good.
Yeah.
We are on a little bit of a downswing, but it is what it is. But beautiful poker rooms in Tampa and in Danville, Virginia, that we got to visit, or at least me.
None of my cards held, my good hands. It was just, I was playing against a flush would come on the river, or, a straight. It was just like a one-outer for the opponent when I had, a set or something like that. Or a really strong, straight, something else came, a higher straight. It was just bad luck over bad luck.
And that's poker. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I think what we've been talking about with equity and pot odds and stuff are all mathematical probabilities. So you could be a 90% favorite to win a hand, still 10% favorite you're going to lose that hand, right? So
two pair
exactly. So
it's like, oh, this is disgusting.
So those 10% hands have come to bite us a little bit here.
Oh yeah.
But I think every poker player in the world will tell you that they've been on the downswings in their life. So
Lady has a lot of eyeballs.
all we can do is pick that up, but we'll show some film of Danville. We'll show some film of Tampa. This is a part 2 of what we talked about last time, which
boring pot odds.
I thought it was riveting.
I don't think so.
So we tried to talk about pot odds last time, but you had a lot of questions about what's the probability and percentage of X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. That really pertains to what we're going to talk about today in equity. Equity of our hands.
Just say equity.
Equity. So yeah, this will be part 2 of kind of the back to the basics, talking about equity and how we calculated it and then we have to apply it back to what we talked about last time when it comes to pot odds.
Okay.
How do you feel?
It's gonna be another.
I feel like
it's gonna be another boring show.
I feel like this is the part of poker you hate.
It's so boring.
But we've got smart people here that explain it in a very simple way, which I feel like I have failed to do. So we'll pull them in and.
I know what equity means.
We'll save it. Save it. Save it.
In real estate.
We're talking about equity today. If we remember from the last one about poker basics, you were saying like what I get confused about is the percentage that my flush hits or the percentage that this XYZ happens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what you're really referring to is the equity of your hand.
Okay.
So you said before we took our intro, you said, I know what equity is. So can you tell me what your understanding of equity is right now?
I only know equity in real estate.
Okay. Okay, well, give me that real estate definition of equity, and I bet you it's probably pretty similar to equity in poker.
It's basically just the value that you have on your property, what value that since you've purchased until the time that, it doesn't matter until you sell, refinance, whatever, how much value it's increased over time.
Okay.
Or decreased. It could be negative equity.
I'm trying to relate that to poker.
See?
And I can't. So, but maybe this guy will. We're going to watch a quick video. It's only a minute long. And I thought he really explained equity well for the layperson.
Because I have a lot of
such as
questions,
us.
so
Yeah.
go.
So we'll play this video and then we'll answer questions.
Go.
Okay.
In poker, that comes with many layers. The raw equity of a hand is merely the frequency it will win at showdown, assuming no future betting. However, that's only half the story. The commodity being fought for is the pot, which prior to showdown is shared by everyone in the hand, i.e. its investors. Thus, in poker, equity is the frequency by which a hand wins versus another hand or group of hands at showdown. For example, if we hold ace-king of diamonds on a board of jack-10 deuce with 2 diamonds, and our opponent holds jack-10 of clubs, our equity is 45%. If the pot is $100, that means over a large sample, we'll win $45 every time this exact scenario presents itself. That being said, your equity changes throughout a hand. At any given point, we must approximate our holdings equity versus our opponent's range, and our range's equity against our opponent's range.
I want you to say your understanding.
I am understanding what he's
so
saying.
that we
yes.
have a basis to conversate.
Yes, to converse. Conversate's not a word.
Did I make that word up?
Yes.
It sounded official.
It's what rappers use.
Pretty legit. Okay.
So the guy who has 2 pair.
On that example he gave.
Yeah. He has a little bit more equity than the guy.
Yeah.
who
So if you have
holds-
45%, that means he has 55.
Yeah.
He has 55%.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
that he's the stronger hand.
Yeah.
At that time.
At
By
that time.
just a little.
Yeah. So if you ran that hand 100 times, you would win 45 of them. He would win 55.
Okay.
So he's the favorite
Yeah.
to win that hand. So some big takeaways that I have of that hand is, one, the basic understanding of equity, meaning that it is your hand versus an opponent's hand. Now, that's easy to say, but we never know the exact opponent's hand, right?
You could put him on a range.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's on the opponent's range. If you harken back to our last poker discussion, when I had the ace king of hearts example, you said, well, I'm putting this guy on a set of nines. You put him on a range, obviously a very specific range, but you put him on a range, and that's how you calculate your equity, right? Because let's say you have pocket aces and you put the opponent on a range of, I don't know.
Or
some
you
kind
could
of
just be betting
suited
with
connectors.
absolutely
That's my point.
garbage.
That's my point, right? You have to, in your mind, know enough about the opponent, know enough about what's going on, how his tendencies are, stuff like that, to be able to put him on that range, to be able to calculate your equity, right? So that's my first takeaway from that. Also, my big takeaway from that is something we've talked about a lot before, is how he explained that equity changes a lot on a lot of dynamics in the hand. One of the big ones is how many people are in the hand, right? So pocket aces does really well heads up against whatever hand you want to pick. Pocket aces does not do really well if there's 5 people in the hand, right? So that goes into what we've talked about with bet sizing and all that stuff before. But understanding that basic principle of poker on how, hey, my pocket aces wins 70% of the time, I'm heads up.
So that's why you want to get, if there's a lot of people betting pre-flop.
Are we
you
playing
want-
poker today? Let's go.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
You want to,
There
you
go.
really want to isolate and take out all of those like little jack fours, queen nines. You really want to narrow down the range of your opponent playing with, tens, jacks, or, tens or higher, or a
Exactly.
really good, ace king, thing like that.
Yep.
King,
and
queen,
then obviously
really
you
good
can play
suited connector.
the rest of the hand based on that, by you narrowing that, being heads up, and you can figure out.
Or
you
it
can
could be-
really put him on a range at that point and calculate your equity based on that.
Or I could just play something like jack four, and
play it like aces. And hey, that's an option. But
I'm never.
We're talking about the.
I'll do that one day.
We're talking about the foundation of poker. I don't think Jack 4 is in anybody's foundation of poker.
I'm just saying
but-
because sometimes I'm just such a tight player that I just
Yes.
need to do something like that and just throw him off the scent.
All right. So given that
I'm
understanding
going off topic.
of equity is the percent that you will win the hand in relation to the other people's equity,
Okay.
right?
But I don't know what they have. But I get it.
Exactly. So that my next question was, how do you calculate that?
What do you mean? How do I calculate that?
So let's just say
Is it their bet sizing?
no.
No.
That's what we talked about last time with
Okay.
pot odds and all that stuff, which obviously
I'm
you
trying
have
to
a very good
calculate-
understanding.
I'm trying
of.
to calculate their equity.
Your equity.
Oh. Yeah, how do I calculate my equity?
There you go. Okay, so that's what we want to talk about here, and then trying to keep these shorter, right?
Okay,
Because
yeah.
apparently I talk.
You
too
talk
much.
too much. Go.
So, to finish off the basics of poker and equity, you're right. You don't know what that person has, but you can figure it out by making big bets, 3-betting.
Also, 3-betting is not triple the amount of the bet, people. Okay.
We'll cover that later.
I just want to let the beginners know.
But let's just say you have aces and you just make it $10, $15 pre-flop and you get 5 callers, right?
Yuck.
It's tough to calculate what equity you have. I think in the example, he had 5 and pocket aces at like 22% chance of winning, right? But let's just say you make it 15, somebody makes it 40, and you make it 100, 120, 150, something like that, and he calls. Now what?
Then you can narrow down their range.
There we go. And
Yeah,
now
king,
you can
kings,
calculate your equity
queens,
based
yeah.
on his small range,
Yeah.
right? So if you've got aces, he's got kings or queens, you're like an 80% favorite. If he's got ace king suited or something like that, you're a little less of a favorite, but you're still a heavy favorite. So that's how you are able to start calculating your equity, is putting them on a hand and then saying what percentage of the time am I going to win this against that. And a little deeper dive into that is how many, so of the 52 card deck, how many cards help me versus how many cards help him. So am I losing
Okay,
you?
you're
I'm
going.
losing
this
you a
is,
little.
This
Losing
is
you
too
a little.
much. This
Too
is
much,
too much
okay.
talking.
But just I'll run it once over. So a 52 card deck, you know, if I have a flush draw, I have 8 outs to hit my flush draw. What's my odds? One time. 8 outs one time. What's my odds?
Out of 52?
Yeah. If I have 8 outs,
Is it 20%? Like 30%?
Twice it would be close to 30%,
Okay.
but once, if it's just the river card or something
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that,
if it's just the river, okay.
we're looking at like 17%.
Okay.
But yeah, twice you're looking at about 30%. So that's my equity in my hand. If I hit my flush draw, I'm 100% sure based on what my judge of the range is. If I hit that flush draw, I'm good. Then that means I have a roughly a 17% chance to win,
Okay.
right?
Yes. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think so. Now we've talked about pot odds and we've talked about equity,
We talked about equity. Yes.
right? So I think next week we will put these principles to the test with you,
Okay.
and I'm gonna piss you off a lot with asking you these questions as it relates to a hand, because I think we've been through these hand dynamics a lot, and I'm just like, what would you do? Why would you do that? And you're just like, don't know. I just feel that way. I don't know.
feel that way. I'm
So-
very exploitative. Like
Very exploitive. Actually, 100% exploitive. That's your game.
That's
No
100%
math.
of my game. I don't do math.
But see, now that we have
feel
this
it.
understanding, next week I'll pull.
I think that's where I know I can improve on, because I mean you can improve every day, but that's the one thing I need improvement on, because it's just so obvious. I try to play as obvious as I can.
Yeah, at our level, it's okay to play as
Yeah.
obvious as possible.
Yeah.
And we don't play with the same people all the time,
Yeah.
so short spurts you could play pretty ABC poker.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for today. Pretty short one. I wanted to keep it short, back to the basics. But hopefully you learned something, and now we have a foundation to talk next time we come together and do this and present a hand
Yes,
from
'cause
one
we
of
live
these
apart.
better guys. All right, so that's it for this week. Next week we will talk about a hand. We'll pull up smarter people than us, and we will discuss their play. But until then, us and Lady will say goodbye. Hope everybody had a happy holidays and a new year. Got everything you wanted for Christmas. But until next time.